Madonna did that Like a Virgin song, and she was literally like gyrating around, you know, like going around stage and like seductively dancing or whatever, and going on the floor and like, you know, being all seductive and stuff. I mean, I think her manager said, if you ever do that, your career is going to be over. But instead it did the opposite. It propelled and skyrocketed her career.
Yeah.
And took it to a stratospheric level. Like, she just became a star from after that. If you think about things like she's done with, and she's talked about a lot of issues like Papa Don't Preach, about abortion. She's talked about in Like a Prayer, she's talked about the idea of, you know, a black man getting blamed for the white man's problems, and being innocent as well. You know, I just feel like she pushed a lot of ideas, or even when she went to Kabbalah, she was bringing it to music. I mean, how many people were aware of Kabbalah back then? It's like a mystic practice and stuff. But, you know, she found a way to integrate it into pop culture, bringing it in front of the eyes, whereas before people wouldn't have been aware about it. Or if you think about the Beatles and bringing it over like meditation and this like hippie sort of lifestyle that I'm sure people did, but they really propelled it, you know? And yeah, I mean, even a sex book. Remember, like, how many artists did you see have sex book, you know, or doing nude photos at that time? I mean, and she says it quite. She said it in her Woman of the Year speech, and she was like, "Oh, when I took the photos and it came out, a lot of people expected me to be ashamed about it, but I wasn't, which surprised them." She goes, "I actually look quite bored." Because I was, but I needed to make money and I did what I had to do. And that's part of survival, you know? She did what she had to do with the nude photos. But later on, when she gave us textbook, it's like she talked about how the industry was very like, it was quite man orientated. I'm not sure what the right phrase is, but quite male dominated, basically, patriarchal in a way. And yeah, and she was like, I was always seen as a threat. So as long, you know, she goes, you were allowed to be, you know, made to look slutty and made to look pretty and made to be objectified for everyone else, but don't own your own sexiness. Don't own your own sluttiness. Don't make it your own. Let it be an object for other people to make themselves. So you're just an object for a man's desire, or a woman's desire too, whatever it is. But yeah, and I feel like she always challenged that. Like the issues she had with the Pope during the Like a Prayer, do you remember? The Vatican, and like, then like talking about her sex dreams, which is just unheard of at that time for women to just openly talk about sex. And then you think back to, you know, the suffragettes movement, and that how sex was something that women were not even allowed to enjoy. Like it was something to be the lowest part of them, that they weren't even allowed to like enjoy that intimacy between the spouse or a partner, for example. And I remember when I was in my second year of university, I did women writers and looked at women and how they basically like protested in the suffragettes movement and everything like that, and seeing women never having the rights to vote until like way after. And even then, when they got the vote, it was only up to women at the age of 30, I think it was, or 35, I can't remember. And then afterwards, after a long time of protest, I think it was in the 1920s, mid to late 1920s, where women were allowed to vote at the same age of man, which is 21. But before that, they weren't. You know, you think about women not being able to own their own bodies. You know, people wanting to have control of women, saying they can't have abortion or whatever. And then, you know, after the pill's invented, and then this is invented, and we see the change and how through advertisement it got out. And then we see how people start having huge families, they start having a more smaller amount, you know? And we see how that penetrated pop culture. Even looks, styles, aesthetic. Remember everyone in the 80s, I know my aunt told me she was a huge Madonna fan and she wanted to be Madonna.
Oh, wow.
We see this, like everyone, you know, having the same sort of look and style as her, which now maybe we look back and think, oh, I don't really like that style. But in a way, it's become iconic and it's permeated into pop culture. You know, we talk about, and now we see everyone doing everything in modern day now with like sex or whatever, and we look over it like, oh yeah, that's normal. We expect that from MTV now. But it wasn't always expected. And I would say that all hats go off to Madonna. I'm sure there were other artists along the way, but she really paved she made the avenue for other people. And she got so much crap for it along the way, when she was even said that she was compared to Satan in a headline once. Or that some people said that she took women back because of she objectified herself. You know, and as if you're not supposed to own your own sexuality.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with Madonna, like when I do like some of her music. Like when I look back in kind of like you know, in her archive, I look back and I'm like, wow, like you can tell that I feel like she went through a lot of stuff, a lot of pain, and then she's put that energy into her art, into her music, into her craft. And then with her, I think being controversial always pushed the boundary.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, completely.
100%.
So we talk about Madonna. How about Michael Jackson?
Oh, Michael Jackson, interesting. Also, a huge pop cultural significance, isn't he?
Yeah.
Obviously, when you watch the Thriller video and how he changed the way like we saw music videos at that time. I mean, now we see it done by everyone. They have longer videos now. It's normative, but we really should always hark back to the people who originally began those concepts and ideas. I mean, I never watched Thriller as a kid. I heard the song. I never watched the video. It wasn't during. That was in the 80s.
Yeah.
We were born in the
90s. 90s, yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, have you watched it now, though?
Yeah, I've seen it now.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
No, it looked amazing. I think if I was a child and I watched it, I definitely would be scared.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. You know what? It's funny you say that, because I remember when I was younger, but obviously when it used to be played on like MTV and those type of channels, and then obviously they used to like bring it back, and I just remember when I was a child like seeing something and it actually shook me. It shook me, and I'm like, what's this? You know, because it was frightening, especially when you're, you know, it's like when you are a younger child and then you see something like that on TV, especially when you're not exposed to it. It's like, okay, this is different. But as you get older now, you see, like for me now, I have an utter appreciation for it, because it's paved the way. You know,
it really has.
You know, it paved the way for the artists today. You know, like Chris Brown and Usher and all these different artists and bands as well. You can see that they've taken inspiration from him and from other artists and from other icons, and they've used it in their own way. And that's what's drives them. And you can see that in their music, and in their music as well as in their music videos.
Yeah, I really see that. I mean, remember Telephone when it came out?
Yeah.
And Beyonce and Gaga, that I saw as well.
Yeah.
If you think about things like Lana Del Rey's national anthem.
Yeah, so
and A$AP Rocky, and we had Lana, and we can see like Lana makes a lot of references to the past. Like she talks about the Kennedys, she references Marilyn Monroe, Jacqueline Kennedy, and you know, even Lolita from the story of the book. And we see her mention these sort of things within her work, her music, her art. And we see even in Ride, where she tells that like story about her life, and she gives that lovely little monologue in the beginning, and you're just engrossed. Like you watch it and you're like, maybe it's fake, maybe it's real, but either way, I still feel something when I hear it. You know, you're moved by the story. You know, and the best thing an artist can do is like make you engrossed into the story that they're telling. You know, and I'm always engrossed by what Lana does. So yeah, I mean, we see it now normalized. I think everyone makes a reference to the past in some way. I mean, how many times have we heard songs mentioning James Dean? We talked about this in the Intertextual podcast. And, you know, we see that all of this, again, is a part of pop culture. You know?
Yeah, it is part of pop culture. Yeah, it is completely right. It's like, I kind of see it as it's like a knitted blanket, isn't it?
Really, yeah.
Everything is like connected. Everything is woven within each other. And then it kind of creates this bigger blanket. it's just everything is just like woven. Everything is like, you know, throughout the years. And then you look back, you're like, wow, oh my gosh, remember that? Oh my gosh, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like that. Let's talk about Lady Gaga, because I know we both love Lady Gaga.